Well, should we tell her that the Dark God has awakened, the world is doomed? You know that Timon and you working out your problems involves him, as he said, ripping out your wings and feeding them to you. I don't know if Raisin will even get a chance to talk to you afterwards. That is the one thing they have in common. Oh no.
How are you feeling?
It's weird, but I feel great.
Like a weight's been lifted from our shoulders.
But the battlefield hasn't changed a bit. And yet all the negative energy is gone. How could that be?
No matter. So long as things on the battlefield go well.
You're right. But what if we can end this now?
What if we could? What then? War is a simple thing. What comes after? That is hard. Diplomacy is a battle that I have never known how to fight. What is it? You think it will rain?
No, not rain.
I don't think that's Micaiah anymore.
What happened? There's statues. Hey! Anyone? Can anyone hear me? Can anyone hear me? Somebody please! Somebody please! Answer me! Answer me! Is anyone here?
It looks like everyone's here, even the merchants. So why have we all been gathered? I still love I didn't say anything because I don't want to ruin the mood earlier, but I love how creepy that moment is where Ulki listens, and Ulki, who has super strong hearing, cannot hear anything at all. So essentially, only major characters can avoid being turned to stone. It's funny how that's literally a plot point. So the petrification only works on generic enemies. And NPCs, it seems. Who's her? Also, literally, who are you and what have you done with Micaiah? That's pretty much what Soph wants to know too. The name of Micaiah's bird. That was significant this whole time. That wasn't entirely a bird. So, you're hijacking her body. Yeah, so if you liked Micaiah, you're gonna be disappointed in this part. She spends almost all part 4 body jacked by Yune. Tiban, I think it should be pretty obvious who she is. Also, I love this song so much. Yune's theme is amazing. Wait a minute, isn't that the goddess we've been worshipping this whole time? Order and Chaos. 2 goddesses. Both who claim to be neutral. However, doesn't quite look like that to us. Something's clearly gone wrong here. Oh, by the way, one of the best lines in the game coming up right now. So, I'll just say this right now, Yune is great. Yune is an amazing character. This is actually a great moment too, because remember that Mist carried the medallion for most of the last game, and she'd often sing to it. This is also referencing the fact that in the last game, they mentioned that Mist had a lot of order within her. In the extended script, Yune mentions that she really wanted to talk to the herons in particular, but because they have so much order in them, they would instantly get sick if she stepped near them. A nice detail that was sadly lost in this version of the script. Remember how in Path of Radiance, Mist would always say that as long as she held the medallion, she never felt alone? This is kind of part of that. So it seems like the whole deal with the gods was a lot more complicated than we thought. Thing is, a little kid is almost exactly what Yune is. I like Yune because she's a very unique take on a chaos god, something that you almost never see in media. Depicting the goddess of chaos as a child is something that makes so much sense, yet I've never really seen done before this. Oh, and in the extended script, Yune mentions that humans seem to love formalities and how much he hates them. Obviously, the goddess of chaos would really not care for that kind of thing. Well, good thing we did that. It's funny, I'm kind of speculating on what Yune's voice would sound like to me, and I kind of have two voices in my head for her. I'm thinking either the voice actress who plays Tiki, I can kind of imagine her with that voice, or I feel like May's voice actress would actually do a very good job of playing Yune as well. You might recognize this song from the opening movie. There's a lot of great songs that pertain to the gods in this game. Ah yes, the whole destroy the current world and try again with a new one plot. So, everything we were told about Leran's medallion in the last game was true from a certain point of view. The world would be destroyed if war caused the goddess sealed inside the medallion to awaken. The only thing that we got wrong was that it wasn't the goddess in the medallion who would be the destroyer. Yune's amazing. Yeah, that's pretty much a given. But this time she did anyway. Though she didn't fully destroy the world, just turn everyone to stone. So perhaps the Galdor of release did have some effects. And yeah, more amazing Yune dialogue. Like I said before, I feel like Mist has some connection to Yune, seeing as Yune must have kept her company every time she held the medallion. I'm kind of surprised Scrimir is so quick to turn around on the whole Dark God thing, though. Elincia actually has more dialogue in this scene in the extended scripts, but I'll explain that later. It's been 1,000 years. Legends get distorted. Oh, and Yune's response is amazing. So, this scene with Soph is actually added in the English version, and I'm glad it was, because there are a lot of people who are like, wait a minute, why is everyone gonna suddenly forgive Micaiah for everything she did in the last part? That doesn't really make a lot of sense. This at least goes a small way towards kind of saying, yeah, we don't exactly forgive you for what you just did, but we don't really have a choice but to work together at this point. We're pretty much the only ones left alive as far as we know. Though these lines I find are a little bit weird, because Ike and Soph can actually fight several times, and yeah, Soph could have very easily defeated Ike if you overleveled him, so this seems to imply Soph fighting Ike never happened. Oh yes, let's split up when we've got a goddess against us, that's a great idea. Actually, Yune has some sense here. So, if we're all together, she could just instantly wipe us out. So in the extended script, there's a little bit more of an explanation here. Yune pretty much says that if Ashura regains her power, she'll basically send out yet another stone wave, and this time, no one will be spared. This one will be powerful enough to affect important characters too. So it's all over if we let that happen. Huh, I wonder what this could be. I already explained it in Ike's bio though. Yep, it's plot-based promotion time. Thankfully he was at level 20. This plot-based promotion is very special because it gives not one but 2 skills. And if you played Heroes, you probably recognize this outfit. And class name. Ike is now a Vanguard legend. And he gets a new portrait, though it looks a little bit derpy in my opinion. And with this, Ike gains both Ether and Nile. Ether is, as I said in Ike's bio, a bit weaker in this game than it used to be, because, yeah, it does do Sol and Luna, but neither of them triple damage. It's still great, but it's not quite as broken as other mastery skills. Now, Ike also gains Nile on promotion, and there's a very, very, very good reason the game gives this to him. You want Nile on Ike going forward. At the very least, in endgame, you definitely want Nile on Ike. For now, though, you don't actually have to give Ike Nile. You can refuse it, and it'll turn into a skill scroll, but I'm gonna have Nile on him for this point. I have to remove both other skills. Yeah, Ike doesn't have much room for many other skills apart from Ether and Nile. It's not like he really needs much more, though. He's not kidding. Vanguard Ike is extremely powerful. Also, yeah, I love this line from Yune. I just realized it makes a lot of sense that there's a lot of snark in Tellius, considering one of its goddesses is also snarky. Yeah, of course, Soph's not leaving Micaiah's side. Micaiah gets some dialogue in part 4, though. And Soph is rejected. So, something very important is going to happen now. We're going to be splitting the army into 3 teams. The Silver Army, the Grail Army, and the Hawk Army. But I like to refer to them as Team Micaiah, Team Ike, and technically Tiban is the leader of this party, but I like to call this Team Alincia for consistency reasons. So yes, because Sonic Heroes references. So, apart from the characters bordered in green, who are locked into this party, and notice how every party has a Heron, but not quite the Heron you'd expect. Micaiah gets Leanne, Ike gets Raphael, and Tiban gets, well, Tiban getting Raisin makes sense. So yes, all the characters bordered in green are locked into that party. So as you can see, Titania is locked into Ike's party, so obviously that's why I third tiered her earlier. But, as for everyone else, you can freely move them around. For example, I can swap Neolucci into the Grail Army if I want, though Neolucci actually has some extra dialogue in this part. So, there are two main reasons to swap characters around, story and gameplay. Story-wise, you want Volug on Team Ike, because that'll unlock a base conversation later on. Some slight story moments on Team Elincia change if Janeth and Orki are in her party, and if Khalil is in her party. As for Team Micaiah, I believe there's some differences in dialogue if Neolucci is in her party. Also, in terms of special boss conversations, Team Micaiah will be encountering a boss who everyone in the Dawn Brigade, and I do mean everyone, that includes Blandy, McLaura, and Aaron, actually have special boss conversations with. So if you care about special boss dialogue, everyone from the original Dawn Brigade should go with Team Micaiah. Speaking of special boss dialogue, Zehak being on Team Elincia will also be good for boss conversations later on. In fact, right now I might need to quickly cut and just look up boss conversations to see who I need in which party if I want to show every boss conversation in the game. Okay, yeah, so for Team Micaiah, you'll need everyone originally in the Dawn Brigade. This is just purely if you only care about boss conversations. For Team Ike, you'll need Danved, and that's pretty much all. I don't know why Danved's on Team Micaiah by default, but I'm going to go ahead and switch Danved over to Team Ike just so I can show boss conversations later. And for Team Tiban, you're going to need, again, this is purely for boss conversations, it's really just Zehak. So that's, if you care about boss conversations, the ones you want. Now, in terms of gameplay, every team will encounter 2 chapters before endgame. So, who should be in each party? Firstly, Team Micaiah needs powerful flyers. Believe me, they need powerful flyers, as well as powerful mages. Also, if you did a data transfer from Path of Radiance, it might be worth your while to have Leth and or Mordecai on Team Micaiah. So because of this, I'm going to go ahead and... I'm going to be swapping Har and Jill as well over to Team Micaiah. Because, like I said, she needs powerful flyers, also powerful mages, but the only powerful mage I have is Soren, and, yeah. Also, you want status-curing staves on Team Micaiah as well. Micaiah can use Restore decently well, but I like having Laura as well. For Team Ike, really all you need is raw power. Ike has a couple of route chapters that are very, very irritating with reinforcement spam, so you want to be able to kill as many enemies as possible as quickly as possible. So like I said, Team Ike, you need just sheer power. Team Elincia's chapters aren't really all that difficult, however, they are incredibly rich in experience. So, on Team Elincia, you should put any characters you plan on bringing to endgame who are a little underleveled. So for example, on this file, I should probably put Nolan and Aaron over on Team Elincia. Basically, Team Elincia's second map is essentially a grinding spree, so anyone who's underleveled that you want to bring to endgame, definitely bring there. I wonder if, yeah, I might as well put Nephany on that group. I don't really have too many people that I'm currently training over on Team Elincia for now. But I definitely want Mia, where the heck is Gatry? Okay, good. Yeah, Gatry's on this team. You know what? I might as well put Shin on Team Elincia, because I don't think I'll need him on Team Ike. So yeah, I've got Gatry here, I've got Mia here, I've got Rolf here. Oh, also, Heather. Heather needs to go on Team Ike. Team Ike is the only party that will be encountering treasure chests. Also, Team Ike is the only party that will be encountering Fog of War, and it will be the last Fog of War map in the game. For that reason, you might want to put Janeth on Team Ike, because his insight skill giving +5 vision in Fog of War, this is the only time it will be useful, and he needs to be on Team Ike in order to make use of that. This will be affecting dialogue on Team Elincia later. Don't really know why Lyra is on Team Elincia by default, but anyway. So overall, I think this is the setup that I really want, although I could use a little bit more power on Team Ike now that I think about it. Maybe Shin should stay with Team Ike. Here's the thing, I have a bit of a dilemma here. Because if I want to show special boss conversations, I'm gonna need Nolan and Aaron on Team Micaiah. But if I want Nolan and Aaron to level up a lot, they need to be on Team Valencia. So, like I said, dilemma. What do I do here? Boss conversations or optimal gameplay? Boss conversations or optimal gameplay? I really want to show the special boss conversations, but I also really want Aaron on Team Valencia, so I might actually have to make an alternate save file here. You know what, that's what I think I'll do. You get another opportunity to save after your preparations with the team swapping are over, so what I'm going to do here is, this does split up Aaron and Jill's support, so I'll need to swap Jill's support over to someone else. But I'm going to go ahead and swap Aaron over to Team Valencia, and I might as well put Nolan on Team Valencia as well. Crossbows are also somewhat useful on this team. Now, is there anyone else that I want to swap around? Not really. Like I said, I need you for boss conversations, and I need you for boss conversations. And I'll keep an alternate file for the boss conversations for Aaron and Nolan. And yeah, Team Micaiah is fine with just having Har and Jill. I should also mention, Team Micaiah is going to be getting a couple of very strong reinforcements when her chapters begin. Just saying that. Also, one additional thing that I should probably mention now, it only comes into play in the next base, but I'll probably want to get this out of the way here. At this point, all of your convoys are merged and linked. Every party can access any item that is in the convoy. This doesn't make a lot of sense, but I like to think Yune did it. I mean, she's a goddess, she'd probably have some kind of power to make an interdimensional convoy. Also, all parties' gold and bonus experience pools are also merged from this point. So that's really all I want to say here. Now that's done, let's go. You can go to the go-to units list, but you can't actually switch around in anyone's inventory. So with that all done, let's go. And after we move out, we will be encountering the second most controversial plot point in this game. I will say though, unlike the Blood Pact, this one was definitely screwed over by the lack of the extended script. And with that, the bird's gone. Micaiah is back. Get used to this while you still can. Micaiah does not have a lot of dialogue during part 4, as herself, that is. I wonder what she means by that. I'm sure Yune's still with us. We may have interdimensional convoys, but we don't have a means of communicating easily between the three teams. Thankfully, Herons can use sending stones, so as long as each Heron has one, we can contact each other. In the extended script, Nyla gets a lot more dialogue here, and so does Alincia. Just a few more extra lines, but I'm glad that those two get a bit more importance here. And here it is. This is the second most controversial moment in this entire game. In the extended script, Ranulph actually leads up to this a lot more, but in this version, he dumps it immediately. So, there's a ton of people who hate the way this is done. Rather than finding out who the Black Knight is via a dramatic unmask, Ranulph just straight up tells you. However, the reason why this comes across as so weird in this version is that there was a ton of foreshadowing towards this, but only in the extended script. Specifically, remember that moment where Zelgius confronted Ranulph on the cliff, and I said that in the extended script, Ranulph says something really significant there? I can finally reveal what he says. He says, "Tell me something. Am I any stronger than when I was when we fought back at that port city?" Clearly referring to the events of Blood Runs Red in Path of Radiance. Also, if you have Ranulph fight the Black Knight in 3.7, it also foreshadows this. Oh no, I'm sure he hasn't. And on that note, we access the save screen. So, there are a lot of people who really hate that plot point, but this is going to sound weird that I'm almost defending it, but I will say, if you had a pretty good suspicion that you knew who killed your best friend's father, wouldn't you tell them? It doesn't really make sense for Ranulph to keep it to himself at this point. It is a bit of a lame way for Ike to find out, but like I said, it doesn't make sense for Ranulph to really hide it. Also, this is a victim of the lack of the extended script. Like I said, most of the foreshadowing towards Ranulph figuring it out was stripped out of the normal mode script. Also, though, if you go back to Path of Radiance, you might realize Ranulph has met the Black Knight almost as much as Ike has. Ranulph was there the night the Black Knight killed Ike's father. Ranulph was there the very first time you saw the Black Knight in Path of Radiance. And considering that Legoo's can recognize people by scent, you can easily make a case for Ranulph managing to figure it out. Not only that, but there's another reason why the scent would be particularly distinguishable to Ranulph, but I'll get into that later. Anyway, though, with that done, I'm going to make a separate save file because I will need to be reloading and showing Aaron and Nolan's conversations against a certain boss later. And then we'll be moving out to the beginning of Part 4 proper. So, see you then. While I'm still here, I might as well give my thoughts on the whole Yune reveal and the whole Dark God thing was kind of a lie plot point. I admit that it's a little annoying it wasn't really foreshadowed. It kind of comes out of nowhere. It's also a pretty big, dramatic spectacle creep in the plot. Let's just say things escalated very quickly. We went from a continent-spanning war to a war between two gods, essentially. It's sort of another issue with the multi-act structure of this game. Every act is kind of a standalone story, and sometimes the jump between one standalone story to the next is very dramatic. But I actually don't mind this plot all that much. Mainly due to Yune. Like I said, I find Yune to be a really good character overall, and I'll be seeing some great moments for her going forward. It's also really interesting the way they examine how legends change over thousands of years. In most fantasy settings, you can assume that any myths are true. In this case, they were heavily distorted. I also find the way the gods are developed in Radiant Dawn very interesting. A lot of people like to treat this part of the story as a bog-standard RPG party fights god plot, which has been done to death in RPGs, but I personally think it's a bit more nuanced than that. I'll be discussing that as we get towards the end of the game. And so, the God Wars have begun. Join us next time for Team Micaiah's first chapter.